it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, you know, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great.
Just not cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
All right. Welcome back. Time for Toker Talk Radio. The phone lines are open at 650-LEGAL-MJ. That's 650-534-2565. I got so much to talk about in hour two, man. Oh, my God. First of all, this Bill Colley article. And again, thanks, Trickster, for pointing it out to me. But this Bill Colley article out of Twin Falls cracks me up. Oh, my goodness. It's just not even internally consistent, right? Like, he went on this one thing about, he had this little anecdote. He talked about the lottery and how, you know, gambling used to be illegal. And then we passed all these state lotteries. And we got more casino gambling and everything. And how he talked to this pastor friend of his and said, gosh, you know, now that the government's, you know, legalizing gambling to make money, it's only a matter of time before they legalize dope and whorehouses, I think is what he called it, dope and whorehouses, to make money off of that. And as far as I'm concerned, that's a good idea. Absolutely. Legalize drugs, legalize prostitution. America's going to need to get over this puritanical streak, this idea that we need to police other people's behaviors when they're not affecting us. I mean, we're supposed to be the land of the free, home of the brave, right? We're supposed to believe in liberty. And especially when they're talking about my home state brethren back there in Idaho, who are very typically into like libertarian politics, don't tread on me, the kind of people that would support, you know, that Cliven Bundy fellow there in Nevada, right? We're talking people that, you know, have a definite anti-government streak. Idaho's the kind of place where they got militias, right? They form these militias. They hate the government, damn federal government, except when it comes to drugs. Boy, when it comes to drugs, yeah, let's bust everybody. Let's get the government in people's lives. Let's put the government in between a doctor and a patient. Let's just lock them all up. How can you reconcile those two positions? How can you possibly call yourself an anti-government libertarian and yet support the nanny state busting people over their personal, private, consensual activities? Now, of course, they always say they want to do it for our own good, right? We gotta stop the drug use for our own good. Some people get addicted. They'll do terrible things. We got to stop prostitution for our own good because it'll hurt the families and it'll break up marriages, blah, 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 blah. Folks, prostitution and drugs exist now. And they're breaking up families and hurting people now. These people, these prohibitionists, seem to think that you can just say no and people will stop doing shit. And that's not the case. All you do by making consensual activities, these victimless crimes, legal or illegal, all you do by making them illegal is add more harm to them. Make them more expensive and less safe. Prohibition is not control. Prohibition is the abdication of control. Prohibition is throwing your hands up and saying, we're not going to do a thing about it. Let's let the criminals deal with it. That's what it is. You want to make prostitution safer, you legalize it. It'll still exist. Marriages will still break up. But you won't be spreading HIV all over the place. You won't have pimps beating up their hookers. You won't have violence inherent in the trade. Prohibition isn't going to work. So, yeah, that's Mr. Colley. And that's the typical, his attitude is pretty typical of people in Idaho. You might get a reason why I had to leave the state. Oh, and by the way, you can't tell from the radio, but Mr. Colley isn't exactly the avatar for healthful living. Let's just say it that way.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Legal to listen to all over the world. We're just not sure about France. CannabisRadio.com.
Equio, New Frontier's cutting-edge big data platform, puts the information and answers you need right at your fingertips in real time to help you more effectively run your cannabis business. Go to www.equio.io to sign up for your free membership today. Again, that's www.equio.io. Run with New Frontier and let us help you conquer the wild.
Cannabis Confidential with Dr. Dina. Candid.
I want to give you the inside story.
Captivating.
I want to introduce you to my kind and amazingly talented friends.
Compelling.
We get to meet some of the most amazing cannabis activists and warriors around.
Listen in as medical marijuana pioneer Dr. Dina shares never-before-heard stories, chats with cannabis insiders and celebrity friends, and provides invaluable perspective and insight into one of the fastest-growing industries in the world.
I want to share with you what was once confidential information. Let's expose the truth, discuss the issues, and learn the facts.
Cannabis Confidential, only on CannabisRadio.com.
The Russ Belville Show, where the truth about marijuana gets more than a minute to speak.
The Russ Belville Show is proudly sponsored by the Marijuana Business Association. The MJBA, called by NBC News the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, is the fastest growing business association in the fastest growing industry in America. I've been working with the MJBA for years, and I personally invite you to join the MJBA. MJBA also publishes the popular MJ Headline News on Facebook and the MJNewsNetwork.com and Marijuana Channel 1 on YouTube. Visit mjba.net for more details.
Warning, hits taken on this show are larger than they appear. Do not try this at home. These people are professionals. Or at least they pay me to say that. This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. 9 after the hour. And don't worry, coming up after our safety meeting, we're definitely going to take a look at some science. Yes, we need some science after our interview today.
Good heavens, Miss Sakamoto, you're beautiful.
Yes, Miss Sakamoto is definitely beautiful. Taking a look at our chat room out there at CannabisRadio.com. Got a couple of questions I wanted to answer. Hi in Hawaii is worried about the bad feeling we're getting with all these people we're putting into office here in the U.S. Wants to know, should he leave Hawaii? Hell no, I wouldn't leave Hawaii. Hawaii's a nice place. Look, I don't know what to think about the future as far as the Trump administration coming in. On the one hand, you got Jeff Sessions, hates marijuana. U.S. attorneys could run rampant, start doing raids. On the other hand, I think Trump's got bigger fish to fry. I don't think marijuana is something that he really gives two shits about, right? This guy's like a celebrity millionaire type. The people in those circles don't give a shit about your drug use. They're doing coke. They're doing all sorts of drugs. They don't care. It's common in the celebrity world for people to at least smoke weed. I really don't think it's a moral issue. as if Donald Trump could have a moral issue, right? So I don't think the moral issue to him. It's just a matter of how much control is he going to exert in his administration. And that's where my doubt comes in. Because if he's a hands-off guy just saying, hey, Pence, let you do what you got to do, then I'm scared because Mike Pence believes this shit. Mike Pence and Jeff Sessions believe the reefer madness. They think it's true. So they would have no problem exercising some authority and control in that area. He also mentions moving to Jamaica. I'm headed to Jamaica this Sunday for my 2-week vacation. And you don't have to learn the language. They speak English in Jamaica. It's just they speak the patois, man. You got to learn the patois, what they're saying in the patois, and they talk too fast, and you got to blah, 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 and you can't. That's the problem. You got to get them to slow down a little. But yeah, you wouldn't have any problem in Jamaica. You'd be just fine. And then Doc Herbalist was, pointing out that it's illegal in Jamaica. It is kinda. Jamaica has legalized medical and spiritual use. So if you could convince them you're Rasta or you got a medical issue, I think you'd probably be okay. As far as that goes, I wish you would move there because you could grow some pretty good weed. The Jamaican weed I got a hold of last year, not that good. I mean, fresh. Let me tell you, someone just picked it off a mountainside, right? But not very potent and seedy. It's the first weed I've had with seeds in it in probably a decade. So it left a little bit desired. I mean, it was good enough. It was a good kind of a natural mid-grade weed. It did taste nice. One thing about I will always give earth-grown, sun-fed weed the edge in taste to something that's grown under lights artificially and, hydroponic or whatever. I've always found there's a better taste with earth-grown, sun-fed plants. So like that as well. What else do we have here in the chat room? We had Jerry had a question. How much are you willing to bet that columnist doesn't smoke weed himself? And he just tries to act all tough. No. I think that columnist is definitely a guy who doesn't smoke weed. For one, weed smokers tend to have lower body mass index. I'll just leave that where it's at. And for two, he strikes me as one of these guys that's one of them good old boy beer drinking types. I know plenty of them back in Idaho. They've got that same kind of attitude. It really is almost like a what's a good comparison? It's like almost like rooting for sports teams. Like they're on the good guys side, the alcohol drinker side, and they're fighting the bad guys. The weed heads, the pot heads. And it's really a cultural thing. I keep telling this to my friends who still live in Idaho, the activists that are still back there in Idaho, that they're not really fighting against pot. They're fighting against pot heads. And it's really, they say it right out loud, right? It was right there in the name of his column. Potheads, stay out of Idaho. This is all based on discrimination and prejudice against what they conceive a cannabis consumer to be. In their imagination, the cannabis consumer is the long-haired, tie-dyed, Birkenstock-wearing liberal who wants to label GMOs and let transgender people use whatever bathroom they want and supports democratic politics and wants all abortions to be legal and wants to defund the military and take everyone's guns. That's what they're fighting. They really think that is what pot's all about. And that's what people who smoke pot are all about. And the reason they think that is because I've always compared it to an iceberg, right? Cannabis consumers are this big iceberg of people. And the waterline is legality, right? Since marijuana is illegal, most of those pot smokers are below the waterline. You're not seeing them. You only see the 10% of the iceberg that can pop up above the illegality line. People that have nothing to lose, right? And so they can be open and honest about their pot smoking. Artists and musicians and hippie types that can openly proclaim their love of weed. And that's all you see. And then you judge all of the cannabis consumers by that 10% you see that can be open and honest, that have nothing to lose. And most of those people tend to be the hippy-dippy stereotype that you're thinking of. You don't see the 90% of us who are the doctors and teachers and lawyers and plumbers and cops and even talk radio hosts and newspaper columnists that probably work right alongside you, Mr. Colley. You don't see them because they have to be absolutely secret about what they're doing. They have to be absolutely ninja about their marijuana smoking. Maybe after 11 o'clock at night in the garage, maybe they'll smoke their weed. Or maybe out at the club, they'll go out to the dark parking lot back in the corner where the cameras don't see and spark up with their friends. I know it because that was me. When I was living in Idaho, that was me. Regularly consuming cannabis all over the state. You don't see them because they got so much to lose. And laughing too hard at the 420 joke, or knowing a little bit too much about what is the difference between indica and sativa in a conversation, can get them enough attention that suddenly they're picked for the random drug test. You can get them enough attention that they aren't picked for certain positions, or they're assumed to have something going on. People that are having to live these double lives, you don't see those 90% hiding below the waterline in the iceberg of marijuana consumers. And because of that, you don't see the extreme diversity of our people. Man, I have smoked pot with capitalist billionaires. I've smoked pot with the most creative, the most intelligent, the most accomplished people in various fields. I've smoked pot with libertarians, Democrats, Republicans, constitutionalists, anarchists, every political stripe, left, right, center, and none at all. I've smoked pot with women, with men, with straight people, with gay people, blacks, Mexicans, Asians, Native Americans. I think I've not yet smoked pot with a Native Alaskan. No, that's not true. I smoked pot with the wife of the guy on that Discovery Channel Life Below Zero show. She's Native Alaskan. So yeah, every demographic group there is on the U.S. Census, I've smoked pot with them. Every income level on the U.S. Census, I've smoked pot with them. Every religion on the U.S. Census, probably I've smoked pot with. There's a lot of religions. I can't guarantee. But you'd be shocked at how many people are out there smoking pot. In fact, Mr. Colley, I have it on exceptionally good authority that your own governor, Butch Otter, the man who vetoed CBD oil, has smoked pot in his lifetime. How do I know this? He was an old drinking buddy of my dad's. They smoked pot together. That's why I got so pissed when Governor Otter vetoed the CBD bill. Because I know damn well he has smoked pot. And I don't know damn well he knows that smoking pot isn't the end of someone's life. Unless, of course, they catch you for it, and then you probably don't get to be governor of Idaho at that point. Yeah, Governor Butch Otter. This is a guy who has gotten DUI for alcohol, who had a major problem with alcohol. That didn't infringe upon him being able to be governor at all, didn't it? No, for some reason, people all across this country can accept this most dangerous of drugs, alcohol. And people who have a problem with it, like that 10% that become alcoholics and have a serious problem with it, a problem so serious they can actually be a danger to others, that's no hindrance to becoming governor. That's no hindrance to moving on with a career. That's no black mark on your social or permanent record that causes you to be ostracized from society. No, it's just a DUI. You're just a drinker. Oh, well, gee whiz, that's no big deal. This drug kills 88,000 people a year. And you want us to be concerned about the one that kills 0 people in all time? I know nothing. All right, that sound means it's 4:20 here in America's legal time zone. We're going to take a break for a quick safety meeting, and when we come back, we will talk a little
science.
That's right, some science on that whole Kangen water stuff. Oh my. Stick around, we'll be right back.
Being green is good. Growing green is good. Making green is great. CannabisRadio.com.
Do you want to get in on the booming cannabis industry? With New Frontier Data, we give industry insiders the power of big data analytics to help navigate this rapidly growing and changing landscape. New Frontier's tools help you make critical decisions based on the facts. Our industry analyst reports reveal the best opportunities. Our custom research engagements deliver answers to the most difficult questions, and our cutting-edge big data platform, Equio, puts real-time information and answers you need right at your fingertips. Go to www.equio.io and sign up for your free membership today. That's EQUIO.io to sign up now. The power of real-time big data is now in your hands. Run with New Frontier, and let us help you conquer the wild.
Georgia. Hi, this is Willie Nelson. Alcohol prohibition didn't work in the 1920s, and marijuana prohibition isn't working today. It's time we stopped arresting responsible marijuana smokers. It's the fair thing to do.
For more information, contact NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Call toll-free 888-67-NORML or visit their website at norml.org.
The Russ Belville Show reminds you to never smoke and drive impaired. Hang out for a while and share.
At Herbie's Cannabis Seeds, we pride ourselves on bringing you the best quality seeds from the world's most respected cannabis seed producers, all at the lowest online prices. You can find Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. All cannabis seeds are sold as souvenirs and as a means of preserving cannabis genetics. Herbie's Seeds in no way intends to condone, promote, or incite the use of illegal or controlled substances. We strongly urge all prospective customers to check their national laws prior to placing an order. Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. Proud sponsors of the Russ Belville Show and 420 Radio.
Yarr! Thar be pirates here! Har, 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 har. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation, only on CannabisRadio.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Hope you had yourself a good safety meeting. I'm having a good one myself. Oh, yeah. Nothing better than legal weed. So, earlier in the show, we interviewed Mahala and Natasha, who are with KangenQueens.com. And this is Kangen is Kangen. KangenQueens.com. And some of you out there are probably wondering why I interviewed them, since I'm such a big fan of
science.
And the reason I did is because, number one, I met them the other day at one of the events. And both nice ladies. Nice ladies. And I don't know that they know what's going on here. Right? Sometimes when someone comes at you with stuff like this, you have to, at least, I shouldn't say you have to, at least I have a little bit of compassion for people who might have been suckered into something, right? And this whole Kangen water thing, as far as I can tell, and let me preface this, I don't have much of a background in chemistry, right? So, and most people don't, right? So when all this chemistry discussion comes up, it's really easy to be taken in by some pseudoscience babble that sounds legit, but really means nothing. So in these kind of cases, I like to rely on those who are more educated than myself for my information. And as I did my research on today's show, everything I could find had to do with the use of Kangen water for human consumption. And boy, did I find a whole bunch of stuff. I found a Slate article from 2013 that said the latest health fad is even more ridiculous than most health fads. I found a Huffington Post article from 2016, alkaline water, beneficial or bogus, that said it was all a bunch of buzzwords and mumbo jumbo. And then from Skeptic Blog, all the way back in 2009, was a piece I found called Water Snake Oil. So lots of skepticism here. Basically, the bottom line is that this is bullshit. I'm sorry. I've been trying to be kind about it, but I'm sorry. This is bullshit. This is bullshit meant to sell a $4,000 machine that you don't need. That's really what it comes down to. And part of the reason why, part of the ways you can tell this have to do with a lot of the ways that it's marketed. You'll get all sorts of buzzwords and you'll get all sorts of lofty claims, but very little in the way of supporting scientific evidence for such things. That's why I got right to that question when we were talking was, what are the scientific studies? And the answer I got was, there's lots and lots of studies. Well, I don't need lots and lots. Name one. Give me something I can look up. Because as she mentioned in the interview, this Kangen water thing has been around for like 43 years. And it's highly marketed in Japan and in other Asian countries where people swear by it. But you know what else they swear by in some Asian countries? That powdered rhino horn is the key to virility. So much so that it's made rhinos almost extinct from the poachers going after to get the rhino horns. They cut the horns off the damn animals and then leave them to die. And then those horns sell for, tons and tons of money. Doesn't do a damn thing. No science behind it whatsoever. But culturally, they believe it. And so, people are all about the rhino horn, right? In Korea, they believe that fans, like air fans that circulate air, chop up the air molecules and that they're harmful. Yeah. So just because a whole lot of people believe something for a long time, that doesn't convince me of its reality. People for over 2,000 years have believed in virgin birth. Doesn't convince me of its reality. So this Kangen water thing, it's all about supposedly ionizing water and casting loose electrons from water and making it more charged and energetic. She made some analogy to boiling water and making it excited. That's a different phenomenon. That's the phenomenon of thermodynamics. But anyway, I looked up one of the sites, and it says, here in a nutshell, and this is from a chemistry site, here in a nutshell are a few basic facts that I believe anyone with a solid background in chemistry or physiology would concur with. 1. Ionized water is nothing more than sales fiction. The term is meaningless to chemists. 2. Pure water, that is, water containing no dissolved ions, is too unconductive to undergo significant electrolysis by water ionizer devices. What he's saying there, so electrolysis, right? That's where we take the electrical current, we run it through water, and it separates the metallic ions out. We talked about this in my aluminum piece the other day, where we talked about electrolysis being used to come up with pure aluminum. Same kind of idea. Well, the thing is, we think of water as being really conductive electrically, right? The reason why is because most water has some sort of metallic ions in it. Sodium, calcium, magnesium, and so on. Pure water, like pure H2O, isn't conductive. Pure water is not conductive enough for electrolysis. And at least when it comes to drinking the Kangen water, part of what they talk about in the Kangen water pitches for human consumption is that the human bloodstream is at a 7.4 pH. And they presume, or they suggest, that if you're drinking water that's too low in pH or too high in pH, you're getting too alkaline or too acidic, and this is bad for your body. Well, number one, your body isn't 7.4 pH everywhere. Like, your stomach is down to like a 2 or something like that. Your stomach's very acidic. That's how it digests things. And when we have too much excess acid in our system, our body releases that by exhaling carbon dioxide. We don't need to drink something to reduce or increase our pH. Our body does that automatically. And if we drink water that's too acidic, we exhale the excess acid as carbon dioxide. If we drink water that's too alkaline, the other direction, the acid in our stomach takes care of that, reduces that alkalinity. And when you drink water, most of it is taken into your body through your intestines, not through your stomach. So when the stomach releases its contents into the intestine, pancreatic secretions make it more alkaline anyway. So whether or not you reduced or increased it in the stomach would make no difference after it left the stomach when it's going to become alkaline anyway. These claims that there's health benefits from drinking alkaline water have absolutely no basis in credible science. They claim that this ionized water is an antioxidant. They talk about, the antioxidant properties. In fact, I think one of the ladies mentioned that for the plants. But the problem is alkaline water is actually an oxidizing agent. And there's nothing wrong with drinking slightly acidic water because, again, your body takes care of that. And if you really wanted to reduce the acid in your stomach, don't know why, because that might hurt your digestion, but if you really wanted to, you don't need to spend $4,000 on Kangen water. Spend $3 on some milk of magnesia. And these claims about it, the company's been around. The other defense I hear is company's been around for 43 years, and the 43 years, and that the Japanese health ministry approves it, and so on. No. That the company's been around for 43 years just attests to the power of being able to market bullshit to people. The Japanese ministry only approves that the machines are safe. They're not going to kill you. Not that they approve them that all of the claims made by them are true. So, as far as the human consumption part of it goes, it sounded like bullshit to me. But when it comes to the plants, growing the plants, I was willing to allow maybe there's something when it comes to using it on plants. And she did make a mention of using a very acidic water as a miticide. That maybe you could use this low pH Kangen water sprayed on your plants, kill mites and stuff. Maybe that's possible. I'd have to talk to more knowledgeable growers than myself. But as far as adjusting, if you're using this to adjust the pH of your water for your plants, because plants do need certain pH, there's a lot cheaper ways of doing that than spending $4,000 on a machine. And again, this idea that there's ions and electrical charges that are going to make a difference in the growth of these plants, I really believe in the power of profit and capitalism to motivate people. If this Kangen water was really going to increase the yield of your plants to any appreciable degree, black market growers would have already been doing this by now. They would have already taken this on and gone, oh my God, I put this special electric water on my plants and doubled my yield. Got it. Paid for that $4,000 machine in the first harvest. But I've never heard that. And if this machine's been around 43 years, about the same length of time that we've had major amounts of cannabis cultivation in this country, I think somebody would have taken it on by now. So, folks, I'm really skeptical about these claims. You're welcome to look them up yourself. Don't believe me. This is just what I think. The website's KangenQueens.com if you want to try to learn more about it. But, man, it just sounds... And here's the other thing. Here's the other thing that gets me about the Kangen water is you don't find it mostly here in the United States for sale at like a Home Depot. Like you can't go to the Home Depot and get yourself a Kangen water machine. As far as I know, maybe you can, but I don't think so. Most of the time, what you find this Kangen water sold through are multi-level marketing schemes. Like Amway and what's the nutraceutical one? I forget the name of it. Herbalife, is that it? anything that's being sold through a multi-level marketing scheme should already, right from the get-go, give you some source of concern. Now, they do take advantage in these Kongan websites. They do take advantage of people's skepticism. You know how we in the weed movement will often say, well, of course they don't want weed legalized because then it would replace pharmaceutical drugs. Well, the Kongan people use that same concept. They say, well, of course they're going to write all these anti-Kongan water articles and call it snake oil and say it's all bullshit because if people used Kongan water, it would replace all the bleach they use and replace all of their disinfectants and it would replace all of these medicines. And yeah, not the same thing, folks. Water is water. Its pH can be alkaline or acidic, and that's about all that matters about it. All right, we got to take a break, pay some bills, and when we come back, phone lines are open at 650-LEGAL-MJ if you got any questions, comments, complaints, or suggestions, and we'll talk more about the world of weed. Stick around.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Cannabis use isn't the only thing growing, so are we. Grow with us. CannabisRadio.com.
Play as Ted Growing, expelled botany sophomore and the biggest grower in town, only on Weed Firm Replanted. Available on the App Store and Google Play.
It's a lot of work being the biggest grower in town. Maintaining a room full of plants while dealing with a slew of eccentric customers? From a hardcore partier to the curious neighbor next door.
Is anybody home?
Help me expand my bud business by unlocking new strains, customizing my grow room, and completing challenges that you can't get enough of. Grow your empire so big you can see it from space. Low on funds? Don't worry. Weed Firm Replanted is free to download.
Download Weed Firm Replanted for free on the App Store and Google Play today. Get growing, Mr. Growing.
The Tommy Chong Show on Cannabis Radio.
You got me running. You got me hiding. Run, hide, and hide, run any way you want, let it roll. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got me doing what you want me, baby. Girl, what you want me to do. Shut up and do a podcast, that's what I want you to do. Oh, that sounds like a good idea.
The Tommy Chung Podcast, only on CannabisRadio.com.
Warning. Hits taken on this show are larger than they appear. Do not try this at home. These people are professionals, or at least they pay me to say that. A public service message from CannabisRadio.com and the Russ Belville Show.
When you are starting up a medical cannabis business, you want a fired-up lawyer who understands the needs of cannabis consumers. The law office of Lauren Vasquez is your fired-up lawyer for the cannabis industry. Visit her website, fireduplawyer.com, or call 1-855-MMJ-LAWS for more information. That's 855-665-5297 for Lauren Vasquez, your fired-up lawyer, or email fireduplawyer@gmail.com.
Hello, Mr. Man. Hi. I'm working. I'm sorry. No food till this is done. This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. And returning to the article written by Bill Colley out there in Twin Falls, our friends out at Green Majority have gotten a hold of this. Now, I haven't told you about Green Majority. This is a perfect time for me to tell you. In Idaho, they are working to try to get some sort of reform passed. And there's a bunch of young entrepreneurial types in Idaho that have gotten in touch with the folks at New Approach Idaho, the Compassionate Idaho, Idaho Normal, all the groups there, and have offered their support. And these guys are the real deal. I mean, these are some serial entrepreneurs who've created a number of fairly successful companies in the Gem State. One of them is a guy named Kobe Conrad, 23-year-old Kobe Conrad. His article on greenmajority.com, and again, shout out to Trickster for putting this up there for me, is called Dear Bill Colley, Stop Lying or We'll Expose You. Expose what? I don't know what we're going to expose. But anyway, he makes a bunch of good points, although one of them I disagree with. His number one point is he says, you only call cannabis by its propaganda name. It's not marijuana, dope, ganja, weed, or any other derogatory name you can come up with. The very fact that your entire article did not refer to it as cannabis shows that your intention was only to write a propaganda piece designed to misinform Idahoans. Okay, I appreciate the sentiment, Kobe. I appreciate the sentiment. But don't lump in people who call it marijuana with people that, or who call it whatever name. What it's called is not important. And this idea that marijuana is somehow derogatory is one that I've rebutted a number of times. The law in Idaho bans marijuana. So it's perfectly legitimate to talk about marijuana law reform because it is a law about marijuana. Furthermore, marijuana is a perfectly decent word. The fact that somebody back 80 years ago used it for propaganda purposes does not mean that the word connotes the same meaning today. Today, marijuana just means marijuana. And given that we ask people on the Gallup poll, should we legalize marijuana, and 60% of them say yes, tells us that the propaganda is not working. That if it is a propaganda word, it's not hurting anything. And the only reason I bring this up is because there's a tendency among cannabis consumers and marijuana law advocates to get on a little bit of a high horse when it comes to this issue. We don't call it marijuana. Marijuana is its slave name. Marijuana is racist. It's properly called cannabis. And when you come off that way, to the average person who might be a pot smoker, might be on your side, you just inferred that they were a racist. They're going to infer that you think they're racist or stupid, maybe. No need to turn off our potential allies by being pedantic about what they call it. Generally, here's my advice. You go ahead and call it cannabis all you like. Just go ahead and call it cannabis. Eventually, someone will say, well, why do you call it cannabis? Well, that's its scientific name. And that's all you need to say. You don't need to say, well, that's its scientific name. And marijuana was used by Harry J. Anslinger to be racist against Negroes, right? You don't need to go that far, right? Just call it what you want to call it. And don't worry about what other people call it. I don't care if they call it dope or ganja or weed or pot or muggles or jive or tea, as long as they're legalizing it. I don't care. So at least, though, I will agree with Kobe on this point that his use of those terms was definitely meant to inflame. Especially, the one I hate the most is calling it dope. That's the one that bothers me the most, because dope is a word that can also mean heroin. And so that conflates the issue a little bit. But the other points he makes are great. Cannabis is not a gateway drug. The policy of prohibition causes drug abuse. Exactly. Cannabis is not a gateway drug. In fact, we're starting to find that cannabis is an exit drug. Cannabis is a drug that people who have serious methamphetamine, cocaine, or heroin addictions can turn to relieve their cravings from those drugs. Recent study just found they got these rats addicted to cocaine. That's not a bad gig for a rat, right? They put them in little rat Studio 54s, right? And they make them wear little rat silk shirts down to their belly button, wear a lot of rat gold chains, right? So you get these rats addicted to cocaine, and they'll self-administer it, right? And then you give half these rats some THC, you give half the rats no THC. Guess what? The rats that get the THC don't use the cocaine as much. So, and this is something we've known anecdotally. Hell, I can tell you from my own experience that it's managed to get me off of 2 seriously hard drugs. In the mid-90s, I had a love affair with methamphetamine. Lasted 18 months, but it felt like 80 years. But yeah, I had a serious meth problem in the mid-90s. That put me in the hospital. And then coming out of the hospital, they wanted to give me oxycodone for the pain relief. Marijuana managed to keep me from going back to the meth and managed to get me off of the oxycodone pills. In fact, I was on those oxys for 2 days before I went, not having this no more. So it's an exit drug, and the science is beginning to back this up. The third point Kobe makes in his rebuttal piece: stop trying to associate cannabis with liberals, libertarians, blacks, and whatever other derogatory category you can come up with. Absolutely right. The point that he's making throughout this entire piece is his worry that if we had legal pot in Idaho, why these people would end up cooking meth and abusing their kids and turning to petty crime, and all these anecdotes that he points out about the people he knew who had smoked pot in school. But really, who did he know that was smoking pot back in high school? Like, how many of them were open and honest about it? And it's also that kind of selection bias. You know, like when you go buy a new Dodge pickup, suddenly you see all these Dodge pickups on the road. Like, wow, I didn't know so many people drove Dodge pickups. Well, they were already there. You just notice it now because you drive a Dodge pickup. Well, the same thing goes for weed, right? You notice the people whose lives come to a terrible conclusion, a terrible outcome in their life, because you notice they were pot smokers as well. It's confirming your bias. You're not paying attention to all those people you knew back in school that were pot smokers, who might have turned out to be a CEO of a company, who might have turned out to be a teacher of the year. You're not as able to see those examples because they don't confirm your bias. Kobe also points out that you use personal stories, not overall statistics, and points out that he's one of the press shirt, tie, and wingtip smokers, saying he's started 3 6-figure local companies and created over 15 Idaho jobs over the course of his life. He's been featured in Forbes, Business Insider, and Yahoo Finance for his contributions. Taking a look at the Forbes article, young man, this guy's 23, remember, that we're talking about. Says, could you be an influencer? This 22-year-old shows there's money in your social media following, and goes on to, it's Boise Digital, the Idaho-based marketing company that's been formed. Hosts Grass City, the world's largest online head shop. This is no idiot who's writing this response. And if this Bill Colley piece goes viral, and I think it might, that's just all the better for us, because it's a shining example of naked bigotry without any sort of backing in facts, reason, logic, or science. I also got an email from the editor out there at the Magic Valley newspaper, who, number one, he wanted to know if I wanted to write a shortened version of my reply for their website. Let me see. Should I take my 2,000-word piece that gets hundreds of thousands of hits on Weed News and pare it down to 600 words to get a few thousand hits on a Twin Falls website? Let me think. No, I don't think I'll do that. And the other thing he wanted to know, or other thing he pointed out, is he said that I used the picture of Bill Colley and violated copyright. You violated copyright using that photo. Yeah, no, I didn't. See, U.S. copyright law, specifically, what was it? Section 109, I think, of the U.S. copyright law. Yeah, so 107, I'm sorry. Section 107 of the Copyright Act states, quote, the fair use of a copyrighted work, including such use by reproduction in copies or phono records or by any other means specified by that section for purposes such as criticism, education, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, or research is not an infringement of copyright. And clearly, I was criticizing Bill Colley, reporting on his op-ed, and teaching people about why he was wrong. So in at least 3 ways, my use of that photograph was fair use. Don't step to me with some copyright violation bullshit. I've been blogging for 20 years. I'm pretty well versed in copyright law. And if you ain't Getty Images, your threats mean nothing to me. Man, some people. And here's the thing, too, is like, it's not like I just snatched the picture and put it up without attribution. On the picture itself, I added a caption attributing it to the photographer and the website, and in the caption, in text below it, with a hyperlink. So, got much more attribution than most people on the internet are giving when it comes to these kind of matters. Oh, it's just amazing. And these folks out there in... Oh, wait a minute. We've got something coming in from my buddy Tom Angel. This is pretty good. Tom Angel's out there at marijuanamajority.com, and one of my heroes in the movement here. A new Rolling Stone interview with President Obama says that marijuana should be treated like cigarettes and alcohol, and criticizes the DEA from being behind the times. He says, quote, "If you survey the American people, including Trump voters, they're in favor in large numbers of decriminalizing marijuana. I do believe that treating this as a public health issue, the same way we do with cigarettes or alcohol, is the much smarter way to deal with it. As you might imagine, the DEA, whose job it is historically to enforce drug laws, is not always going to be on the cutting edge about these issues. It is untenable over the long term for the Justice Department or the DEA to be enforcing a patchwork of laws where something that's legal in one state could get you a 20-year prison sentence in another. So this is a debate that is now ripe, much in the same way that we ended up making progress on same-sex marriage." End quote. There we go. Kind of nice to hear President Obama say it. Might have been nice to hear it 8 years ago, but hey, he's still in office. I mean, he said it while he's still in office. That's progress somehow, isn't it? Oh, man. We got to take a break. We'll be back to close up the show right after this.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
We don't limit how much you smoke, and we don't limit where you listen. Cannabis Radio is now on iTunes, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio.
Mindful of sustainable practices and limiting their environmental footprint, Sansal Hemp is always grown outdoors, as nature intended. By starting with uniform genetic profiles, Sansal ensures the plant will maintain its optimal performance and yield consistently throughout its life cycle. It is through innovative processes that Sansal is able to achieve pure whole hemp extracts and meet industry requirements and the level of quality desired by many of their customers. Healthy plants, healthy people. SansalCBD.com. Improve your lifestyle naturally.
NORMAL stands for Responsible Adult Cannabis Use. If cannabis use is causing problems in your life, consider taking a break or seeking medical assistance. Consider ceasing cannabis use if you have a family history of mental illness. Don't drive or operate heavy machinery while impaired by cannabis use. Cannabis use is not without risks, even though the risks may be far less than those posed by legal drugs. The Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com, the National Wildlife Refuge for Marijuana Unicorns.
New beginner guitars and banjos are often constructed much better than ones built before your time. Why struggle? Get a new instrument or fix the old one. The trusted professionals at the Fingerboard Extension will evaluate your instrument for free. Repairs are priced for people who work for a living. Stop by the Fingerboard Extension downtown Corvallis at 120 Northwest 2nd Street today, or check out its inventory on the web at fingerboardextension.com.
I have a package here for Radical Rick. Is there a Radical Rick here? How about a Rick Russ? Any Rick Russ? Somebody named Freddie Barack has sent him a package. Anybody? What is that? Sounds like a skunk. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation, only on CannabisRadio.com.
All right. Oh, my goodness. Wait a minute. People aren't hearing me. Why aren't people hearing me? There they are. Why does this have to happen to me? Damn it. I'm so sorry, folks. Sometimes this equipment just gives me problems, and now we're back. So, now can you see me? Now can you hear me? Tommy, can you hear me? Tommy, can you see me? I don't know what happened. My apologies. We won't mess with that. Anyway, as we wrap things up, I want to remind you that you can contact me, Radical Russ, everywhere. Literally, I'm on Facebook as Radical Russ, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, SoundCloud, YouTube, Snapchat, Massroots. What else is out there? If it's got a username, LinkedIn, if it's got a username, I'm Radical Russ on it. Also on Gmail. So if you want to send me some email, it's radicalruss@gmail.com. And our studio line, 650-LEGAL-MJ, is open 24 hours a day. So if you just want to drop a comment in, maybe you don't want to be live on the air, but you just want to drop a comment, just do it through the voicemail at 650-LEGAL-MJ. All right, so quick note from my email. I got a listener out there who's been with me for a long time, guy by the name of Wayne, who emailed me this comment just 40 minutes ago. A good friend of mine left my law firm to work for the Brooklyn DA Homicide Department. Brooklyn, New York, DA Homicide Department. I asked her what percentage of homicides are caused by the illegal drug marketplace. Without even batting an eyelash, she said 89%. She then told me that almost all of these homicides are kids under the age of 26. Wow. 9 out of 10 homicides in Brooklyn having to do with the illegal drug marketplace. Wow. And I'm not surprised by that at all. And there's just this, the problem that happens is that drugs are illegal, and then that makes it so only the most desperate people, only the people with nothing to lose, are seen as the ones that use them. People that are your good, upstanding, tax-paying, law-abiding, hardworking citizens who use drugs, and there's lots of them, those people are invisible. You don't see them. You don't know they're using drugs. They can't be open and honest about it. So the ones we do see are the reckless ones, the libertarian ones, the artists, those folks, and the people who have problems with it. And then we associate those problems as being the kind of problems all drug users have. It'd be like thinking an alcoholic is representative of all drinkers if you never saw anybody else ever drinking. If all you ever saw was alcoholics drinking, you'd think bad things about alcohol. Then add to it the violence that you get in a black market, and then you end up with a situation where people start to say, aha, see, drugs cause violence. And then it makes it harder to get the drugs legalized because now you're looked at as someone who's cool with violence. You're okay if society goes to hell. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's all the time we got for today. Thanks for joining us, folks. We'll be back tomorrow. And until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth.